Hello, Bleacher Report listeners. My name is James Hill. I run the YouTube channel MrBucsNation, where we talk about all things regarding the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And funnily enough, that's what we're going to be talking about in this live stream today. So hopefully you guys all enjoy the topic because, on a very positive note, on the holiday season, and I hope everybody had a good holiday yesterday, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are on an absolute roll heading through the month of December. They've been absolutely on fire so far this year. You take a look at their past 4 games, folks, it is 4 straight wins. Now, the first two, I would even go as far as to say a lot of people thought the Bucs would beat the Carolina Panthers. But then you have 3, in my opinion, impressive wins against the Atlanta Falcons, which are technically a playoff contending team, the Green Bay Packers, which are a playoff contending team, and the Jacksonville Jaguars, which right now, as of the recording of this live stream, are a playoff team. Those are 3 games that people thought the Tampa Bay Buccaneers would have a tough time winning. They came out, won all 3. They are undefeated in the month of December to put them at an 8-7 record. But more importantly than that, folks, the Bucs are 1 win. Yes, 1 win away from clinching a playoff spot yet again. Not just that, but also 1 win away from clinching the NFC South title for the 4th year in a row. That is incredible to say right now, right? Given the expectations of what a lot of people thought the Bucs were going to be this year. In fact, even going as far as to look at where the Bucs were before the month of December. They had a 4-7 record and were in the most dire of situations. A lot of people thought, hey, if they lose these next 2 games, beat against the Carolina Panthers or the Atlanta Falcons, this is a team that is very, very much in trouble. This is a team that is possibly going to move on from its quarterback, possibly going to move on from its head coach. And I was talking about this a month ago, and this team turned it around in such a big way. It's absolutely incredible to see the growth and just the overall ability to fight back from this team over the past month here of December. Again, 4 straight wins is no joke. That is one of the most impressive stretches of any team in the NFL lately. But you could possibly argue the most impressive stretch. 4 wins in a row is not easy, folks. And the Bucs did it. And even in the past 2 games, they did it very convincingly. Again, against the Green Bay Packers, against the Jacksonville Jags, this was 2 wins where the Bucs were pretty comfortable in those victories. Again, against 2 playoff caliber teams, in my opinion. Now you're in a situation where if we look past all the orange blocks, we have a game against the New Orleans Saints, which that's going to be a very important game. I'm sure I'll be talking to you folks after that game. And you have a game against the Carolina Panthers. And the Bucs only need to win one of those next 2 games. And number one, that showcases the level of ability that the Bucs have had the past month of December, but it also showcases that the job's not done. The Bucs still need to go out there and not rest on their laurels, not rest on the past 4 wins and say, hey, we're fine, we got this. Because you're playing a New Orleans Saints team that, look, regardless of whether the Bucs swept them last year, regardless of whether you look earlier in the year, and the Bucs won 26-9 in New Orleans, a very impressive win, and now you're going to be playing them at home. New Orleans is always going to be a crafty team. New Orleans is always going to be a team that will give you fits if you're not careful, especially with the Bucs and Saints in the past couple of years. So you can't rest on that type of game, and you still can't rest on the Carolina Panthers. I don't care what anybody says. Carolina Panthers can still be a spoiler type of team. They almost beat the Green Bay Packers in this most recent week here in week 16. It was 33-30, not 33-3, 33-30. So that is another team that, look, regardless of the Carolina Panthers record, I believe they have 3 wins on the year. You cannot take it lightly because the job is not done. I believe Todd Bowles said it after the win against Jacksonville. He said, business is business. Well, business ain't done. You got to keep on going. And we've seen teams in the past, collapse, right? Even with 2 games left to play, teams can still collapse. We've seen it before throughout the entire history of the NFL. And now you got to make sure we don't see it again. So it's up to Todd Bowles. It's up to Baker Mayfield. It's up to the entirety of this Buccaneers organization to not rest because they need to win. They still need one more win. It goes from basically being a guarantee. Right now, the Bucs have an 84% chance to make the playoffs. If they lose both these 2 games, I believe their chances, they're out. Like, they're just completely out in this situation. If you win one more game, you're guaranteed. You're guaranteed. So that's what's at stake. It comes down to it. You don't have any extra help in terms of, well, if this team loses and this team loses, then you can get in. No, it's essentially a matter of, if you win, you're in. If you lose out, you're out. That's as point blank simple as it gets, folks. So you really cannot stress enough the importance of these next 2 games. And people had already assumed, right, that this Saints game was probably going to be the most important game on the Bucs' remaining schedule, even going as far back as, the Carolina Panthers and the Atlanta Falcons game. A lot of people still thought that the Saints game was still going to be extremely important. Look, the Bucs did themselves, huge favors in terms of winning these past 4 games to where they don't need any extra help. If you were looking at this situation, say after 2 wins, let's say if the Bucs went 2-2 down this stretch, you would have been looking at a situation of, well, obviously the Bucs need to defeat the Saints, but they may need some extra help. They need the Falcons to lose. No, now it's just your win, you're in. And that's an incredible spot to be in, right? That's great with 2 left to go, but that's also a lot of pressure. But the Bucs have risen to the occasion the past month. Again, looking at the 4-7 record, not a lot of people thought the Bucs were in a good situation. A lot of people thought, okay, maybe in the next 4 they're going to be 6-9, maybe 5-10, something along those lines, and not going to be in a great situation, going to have a lot more questions than answers, and possibly looking at a new quarterback head coach combo. Now, people are calling for Baker Mayfield to be the comeback player of the year. People are calling for Todd Bowles to be the head coach of the year. It's so crazy what a month brings you, what 4 games bring you. And we've been doing these live streams the past month, and week after week after week, this team has just been getting more and more impressive. I mean, look at the offensive output. You went from scoring 14 against the San Francisco 49ers, 20 against the Indianapolis Colts, to now you're 21 against the Panthers, 29 against the Falcons, 34 against the Packers, 30 against Jacksonville. It definitely bodes the question of, hey, like, if the Bucs do make the playoffs, can they make some noise if they have to play a Philadelphia Eagles, where the Bucs played them earlier in the year and wasn't necessarily the best offensive scoring game for the Bucs, but you still held a very potent Eagles offense to only 25 points. That's manageable. You can work with that. Can you make some noise against the Dallas Cowboys, where the Bucs may be looking for some modicum of revenge, given that the Cowboys eliminated the Bucs last year in the playoffs? Those are some legitimate questions that you can ask now, and it's all based off of how the past month has gone, where the Bucs have been put in positions like this, where the national media has been put into conversations, or has been, essentially forced to talk about the Bucs in conversations like this. It's been really an incredible thing to watch. And I even want to take it a step further. I want to take a look recently at a Bleacher Report article that was written here on the website. It was by the Bleacher Report NFL staff talking about the power rankings. We're talking about rankings entering week 17, the power rankings. And there's a lot of teams that you expect, with the Carolina Panthers being at number 32. So sorry, Carolina, but a lot of people would have thought at the beginning of the year that the Bucs would have been a team in the low 20s, right? They would have been where the Chargers are at 5-10. No disrespect to the Chargers, but maybe where the Titans are at 5-10. No disrespect to these teams, but this is where the expectations were for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers entering the season. Now you go to pick number 20, the Bucs aren't there. You keep on going, 19. Now you're into the mid-teens, and the Bucs 17. Bucs still aren't there. You got to keep on going. They're top half. You're at number 15. The Bucs still aren't there. 14. Bucs still aren't there. 13. Nope. 12. No. 11. No. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are a top 10 team, according to Bleacher Report. That is awesome and wild at the same time. I mean, it's just what a cool, awesome thing for the Bucs to showcase where they are now. Literally the only teams above them are teams like the Bills, the Browns, teams that, you know, a lot of people expect to not make the playoffs, but potentially make a deep run. The Bucs are right there. That's such an incredible thing to see. Part of that is because of the play of the defense. Part of that is because of the play of quarterback Baker Mayfield. I want to highlight this real quick and take a quick look. You look at the stats so far this year. Baker has been a big part of the Bucs' success. 3,598 passing yards, 26 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. I don't have to tell you guys, Baker's had a resurgent year. He's changed not just the expectations of the Bucs, but the entire expectations of his career. Now you're talking about, okay, are the Bucs going to re-sign Baker? Is he worth $25-30 million a year? This is Geno Smith levels of resurgence, folks. Geno got a 3-year long-term deal from Seattle. I could very easily see the same thing for Baker Mayfield here. He's been going out there. He's been playing gritty football, especially the past month, to give the Bucs this situation where they only need one more win and they're in. Baker's been a big part to that. If Baker is going to be a guy who's going to lead a team to the playoffs, a team that did not have high expectations whenever he was brought in, that is definitely warranted consideration for a re-signing, and it would not be surprising at all if Baker was the Bucs quarterback for the next couple of years. Rachaad White is another reason the Bucs are in this position. I don't know if you guys know this. Rachaad White is third in the NFL in rushing attempts this year, with 873 rushing yards, 6 rushing touchdowns, 3.6 yards per carry. I know isn't great, but you look at the past month of Rachaad White, minus the Jacksonville game, where, let's be honest, things didn't necessarily go well. 2.0 yards per attempt. But look at before this. You have so many good games, 15 for 100 in a losing effort against the Colts, but 20, 84 and a touchdown in a win against Carolina, 25 for 102 in a win against Atlanta, 21 for 89 in a win against Green Bay, even a receiving touchdown against Green Bay, a receiving touchdown against Atlanta, multiple catches and targets throughout these games. Rachaad White has been a guy who has really come on strong. He's been another one of those guys that's been getting so much national attention, and I feel like deservedly so. Because you look at the running back stats, and that's some good stats, right? You love to see that. That's all well and good. Let's take a look at the receiving stats real quick, though. Rachaad White, third in targets on the team, third in receptions on the team, third in receiving yards on the team, third in receiving touchdowns on the team. Rachaad White has consistently been a guy who has been a force, not just as a runner, but especially as a receiver as well. In terms of receiving stats, Rachaad White is up there as one of the top 5 receiving backs in the entirety of the NFL. That's behind guys like Christian McCaffrey, who everybody expects to be absolutely phenomenal and amazing, and a couple of other guys in there as well. But Rachaad White is right up there in that mix. It just showcases the overachieving nature of this Bucs team this year to silence a lot of doubters, both national and local, I want to say. And just to week in and week out see these guys come out there and overachieve and really make names for themselves. I mean, gosh, even a guy like Chase McLaughlin, 26 of 28 this year, 92.9 field goal percentage. The Bucs may have found themselves a kicker. On the defensive side of things, you take a look, Yaya Diaby, a rookie who's only started 5 games this year, is at 6.5 sacks on the year, leads the team, is one of the leading rookies just in the entirety of the most recent draft class who is going out there and is overachieving with 6.5 sacks. Antoine Winfield Jr. is making a legitimate case for Defensive Player of the Year, 110 tackles, 5 sacks. You look over to the far left, 3 interceptions over here. It's tough to see, but 3 interceptions over here on the year, 12 passes defended, 5 forced fumbles, 4 fumbles recovered, 7 quarterback hits, 5 tackles for loss. Are you kidding me? That is an insane year for a safety, folks. For a safety, you're getting those numbers. Lavonte David hasn't been a slouch either. 4.5 sacks, 113 tackles, 17 tackles for loss, 5 quarterback hits, a fumble recovered. I mean, this is a team that has been putting up crazy numbers. I think under a lot of people's noses, to where it hasn't necessarily been noticed by a lot of people. But you're having guys step up, even Devin White. I know a lot of people have been down on Devin White, and there's been so many different situations for reasons for people to be down on Devin White, myself included. We've talked about this on past live streams, but even last week against the Jags, he went out there and was able to showcase such good ability in his return, got an interception, made a couple of plays, sacking the quarterback, hitting the quarterback. This team is peaking at the right time, folks. They really are. They are peaking at the right time, both offensively and defensively. And it's a situation where I don't think it's crazy to say that the Bucs could make some noise in the playoffs. If they make it, business isn't done. I cannot stress that enough. But you look at the past few games, why can't the Bucs compete against a Dallas Cowboys or a Philadelphia Eagles and possibly even win a playoff game, possibly even get to the next level? I mean, why not? Why not? The recent proof that we have seen, yes, Carolina Panthers, the Atlanta Falcons, they're teams that might be a little bit down. The Packers and Jaguars are legitimate teams. I don't care what anybody says. So if you can beat legitimate teams like that, can possibly beat the Saints and the Panthers. Folks, if they went out, they finished 10-7. That's a good looking record. That's a good looking spot to be in. You look like a legitimate division winner at this point, because a lot of people have been saying, well, yes, whatever team wins the NFC South, it is a bad division, and whoever wins, it's essentially a gift to the playoffs anyway. I'm going to possibly disagree with that a little bit. If the Bucs win 6 straight, why shouldn't they be getting as much hype as, say, the Detroit Lions got last year? Where you're a team that's winning out 6 straight is not easy. I don't care who you're playing. You're playing NFL caliber teams. You finish with a 10-7 record, folks. That's not a joke of a record. That's a pretty impressive record. You're not winning the division at 8-9. You're not winning the division at 7-10. 10 wins on the year is impressive. I don't care what anybody says. And that would prove that, like, hey, the Bucs could make some noise. They are white hot ending the year. And who is to say that they couldn't win a playoff game and shock the world even more so? It's an interesting situation, man. It's an interesting situation. I think that this offense is peaking at the right time. A lot of people have been giving credit to Dave Canales. I think that is 100% understandable. He's been having a great second half to the year. The defense has been peaking at the right time. Again, you look at Lavonte David, you look at Antoine Winfield Jr., and the Bucs as a whole are just a team that was at 4-7. Bad news. We were coming in these live streams here on Bleacher Report talking about, is it time for Todd Bowles to get sent packing after this year? Is Baker Mayfield really going to be the guy? Is it really his fault that the Bucs are 4-7? And then they went from having a 4-7 record to now they have a winning record with 2 left to play. With one more win, you get into the playoffs, folks. It's a situation where I don't think a lot of people expected it. Certainly not a lot of people expected it, but it's a situation we find ourselves in. And it's going to be really interesting to see how the Bucs finish out the year. If they win out, go 10-7, folks, it's going to be a whole heck of a lot of fun making some playoff live streams here on Bleacher Report. I'm going to tell you that much. It's going to be a whole heck of a lot of fun. But business ain't done. Todd Bowles said it. Business is business, but business ain't done, folks. So we're going to see if the Buccaneers can win out against the Saints, against the Panthers. Again, you win one more game, you're in the playoffs. Simple as that. We'll see if they can get that job done. But, folks, I want to thank you guys so much for watching this live stream. Hopefully you guys enjoyed my breakdown of where the Bucs are right now and how they can get into the playoffs and why business is not done. It was a lot of fun here being on the Bleacher Report app yet again. Again, my name is James Hill. I run the YouTube channel MrBucsNation, where I talk about all things Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And speaking of Tampa Bay Buccaneers, you guys can find everything regarding not just the Bucs, but the NFL as a whole here on the Bleacher Report app. Not just the NFL, not just the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but NBA, MLB, anything you want regarding sports, it's all here on the Bleacher Report app. Thank you guys so much for watching this live stream. I hope you guys all enjoyed. As always, again, my name is James Hill. I'll see you all in the next live stream here on the Bleacher Report app. But until that next live stream, as always, guys, I'll see you all in the next video or the next live stream. But until then, and as always, guys, goodbye for now and go Bucs. See you guys soon.